Hi guys, welcome.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
Slush. So we have 20 minutes and we are now at the end of 2 big days at Slush, and I thought let's take the opportunity to look at the horizon and maybe discuss what's coming and discuss new horizons for venture capitalists in Europe. We have an esteemed panel of seasoned investors and entrepreneurs, and we've taken the opportunity to go quite broad geographically as well. So China, Russia, US, and Europe. Let's start this spiritual journey with contextualizing, and maybe you could start by introducing yourself. So Alan?
Hi.
Is it not working?
It is. Is it working? Okay.
Yes.
Hi. Great to be here. Great event. My name is Alan Lau. I'm from China. I run the capital fund, Colony Capital in China. So we also start up a new VC fund focused in Nordic countries. Also, we are opening our first European co-working space here, Weplus. Weplus is one of the biggest co-working space operators in China with 20 space. We opened our first Nordic office in Helsinki in February of next year.
Congratulations. Vasily?
Hello, everybody. I'm Vasily Belov, and I represent here Skolkovo Innovation Ecosystem. We're a long-term partner of Slush. We brought this year about 40 companies here, and our booth is next door to this stage. Overall, we have about 1,600 companies in Russia in 5 areas which we support, and we are looking forward to make them global champions. And we are now changing our strategy, and we are setting up 3 venture funds under our umbrella in IT, biomedicine, industry for $30 million.
You're setting up 3 venture funds?
3 venture funds. Well, if we have 1,600 companies in portfolio, I think we have a good pipeline even for more. And
well,
we are looking for co-investment.
This is a conference of ambition, so I like setting up 3 venture funds. Sounds ambitious.
Yep, we'll do that. And we are here to find our partners to help our startups go international. And we have similar event which is partnering for Slush, the Startup Village, which happens in June every year. Last year there were about 200 people coming from Helsinki to Moscow for this event. And we will be happy to see you guys there next year as well, and rock and roll in Moscow.
Cool. And Seth, you ran from the judges' booth up here, so thank you for that.
I did. I didn't even get to choose the winner, so hopefully the other judges will be able to decide without me. So my name's Seth Berman. I have an early stage fund in San Francisco called Susa Ventures. I've invested in about 90 seed stage deals. We look for long-term defensibility through data moats. That could be data network effects, economies of scale, or proprietary data. And we will definitely invest in Helsinki.
And you'll definitely invest in Helsinki. I think that's a great opening statement. I think one of the themes here today is cross-border. And my tagline tends to be, innovation is borderless. I should introduce myself. My name's Aurore Belfrage. I'm with EQT Ventures, so new kids on the block when it comes to VC in Europe. We've just raised a fund of $630 million to do growth in Europe, so very excited. But this trans-border opportunity, so you're looking at European investment opportunities to take to China, and you guys are looking at Russian global winners to export it, and you're looking everywhere for opportunities within whatever gets you excited. But I think one of the themes that have come out of these 2 days, and everyone that's an entrepreneur knows, it is really difficult to build a business. And it's very easy to say, internationalization, new markets, we're going to grow. I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss what does that mean in practice, and how you guys going to help the ambitious entrepreneurs that are going into new markets. Alan, would you like to start?
Cross-border acquisition is always difficult, and luckily we're not doing that. We're more of a focus on early stage investment, probably pre-A to A round. I think the global economy is such that there is not a clear divide between Europe or US or China. Money is highly concentrated, they move very quickly, so it will go where they can make money. And I think our angle is that in Nordic country, there's a lot of good startup, good technology. But if I look at the Nordic country, the market is relatively small, relatively limited.
The Nordic market is relatively small.
Relatively small.
Says it, coming from China, I think that's a very valid statement, yes.
So I think the key challenge for a lot of the Nordic startup is where you're going to focus your market, where you can really grow your business. And I think with the combination of the technology and the market size of China, which is the top 2 single markets in the world, I think we can find something that we can do together. But I believe cooperation only comes with money. You have to take an equity stake, then we can put the resource behind it, and then we can grow together. So our angle is technology in Nordic countries, market in China.
Yeah. I'm glad that you didn't go down the route of the most annoying buzzword, which is smart money. But in reality, that is something that it's a whole package deal. And as you say, capital flows freely, but it's the other elements that are actually the building blocks for businesses.
I can't agree more. I think today's world, just pure capital is not enough, particularly for the startup.
No.
It's what kind of resource within your own ecosystem that can help them grow. I think that's the key challenge.
And Seth, from your perspective, from a US looking at Europe, we see that capital is flowing. We see a lot of American players coming to Europe, shopping and jokingly talking about the European discount. How do you see that? And do you see it as a global market?
It's definitely a global market. I think that valuations within Europe have come up quite a bit in the last few years, and they're actually... Is that
good or bad?
I think it depends on who you ask. If you ask entrepreneurs, I think it's probably a good thing. If you ask investors, it's probably a bad thing. From my perspective, time will tell.
Let's do the honest thing. Between 4 walls, no one's listening, right? In terms of building a business, if we're going to play the chess game, I want to build a global winner. What is actually good in terms of valuations? Should you be bullish in the beginning? Should you restrain yourself in that chess game?
I think the entrepreneur really has to look at the company and the metrics and the traction and be honest with themselves. And if they're honest with themselves, they'll get a true valuation. Every single company needs to be independently valued, but it's important that they don't get ahead of their skis. If they get ahead of their skis, then they're going to have to do a down round, which is really bad for morale. Entrepreneurs hate losing employees, and the most important thing is having really high quality people around you.
Couldn't agree more. Vasily, what do you think about this being realistic and being honest? Because building a business, you also need to be energetically visionary about where you're going to go, and maybe there's also room to be more enthusiastic than realistic and honest. How do you play that balance game when you're talking to investors?
Well, Russian people are quite shy, I would say, when they speak to the investors, and typically for the Russian companies, we suggest to be more aggressive in this way. But in general, I think it's about the respect and realism when they talk to the counterparty. It's very short-sighted to expect that your investor is more silly than you are, and she or he doesn't understand the real valuation. And I think the more sincere and open you are in this discussion, the better off you are at the very end. Because you come better to the conclusion. For the startup, I think the evaluation, particularly in the early stage, is not that critical as the speed, how the company raises money. And you can spend months in negotiations, or you can fundraise quicker, maybe with 20% less valuation, but make a next big move, make next big step, and your partner will bring you to the next level of the venture funds or the global or strategic partners, and you eventually succeed more. I think you should be realistic, but you should know where you want to go. You should have ambitious goals. You should target for the big markets, for the big things. That's what investors typically like.
Very true. And now it's an interesting dance, and I've been on the founder's side for a long while, and now moving into the investor side. It's interesting to see what that dance looks like, and how do you build a collaborative partnership effectively in order to build your business. And the risk is in this setting of a hyped circus that you sometimes lose the focus on building the business, and it becomes the valuation, the money, the PR, the headlines. One of the things that I've been reflecting on these last 2 days is, so innovation is borderless. We're talking about Europe as a hotspot, and there's cool stuff coming out of here, or actually they're coming out of anywhere above and beyond Silicon Valley, right? There's more opportunities. But what we're not discussing is, are VCs also changing their play accordingly? So is venture capital also borderless? How do we need to change how we approach companies, how we set up offices, how we build teams to be that strong partner?
That's a great question. I think the VC model is changing. It's very important.
That's a tweet. The VC model is changing. I like that.
You see a lot more VCs that have platforms now. They have HR, they have PR, they have data services. And I think what's happening in Europe and the US is US investors really like to have a strong European lead, do one of the seed, Series A or Series B, and then come in and be kind of an abstract value. I think it is hard from a US perspective to invest in Europe and be the only VC at the table and not be with them on a weekly or monthly basis. I think it's important to have somebody locally that they can rely on and talk to about their business.
Well, I think that VCs are becoming more hands-on. I think they are more deeply involved in the company development for A and B rounds as well.
Yeah.
And the classical models are less effective these days, and we see for the last 4 quarters in Europe and the US we have a slight decline. We see promising signals, but they come directly from the VC funds, which have different business models. And I think we are really changing in this industry. We test new modes when the funds are cross-border or they are linked to certain community or to the ecosystem. And the whole value chain of the financing is vibrant, I think, today.
So, following on that, so I think we're all on the same page in terms of VC needs to change because the landscape is changing. It's more and more entrepreneurial, and we're using more and more technology. I know from an EQT Ventures perspective, we're applying technology to venture cap in order to be proactive in the market. What's, from an Asian or Chinese perspective, how do you practically do that outreach and help European companies come to China within that? Because there is sometimes skepticism about going that far.
I think a couple of things. I think it's absolutely right. I mean, VC has become now much more hands-on. I was from a PE background. On a PE, we're much more hands-off. Basically, it's about financial modeling, structurings. But on the VC or angel business, is much more of not only what you're investing, but what you can provide from a resource perspective, from a synergy perspective, to really help those small companies to grow to something that is scalable. I think for this particular fund that we're now talking about, a Nordic-focused fund, I think my focus, or our team's focus, is really looking in company that be able to expand their market share in China. And we're only looking at things that we can actually help them from a owner perspective, not only as an investor, but also help them in operation, in resource, in connection, network, and so on and so forth. And that's why we're setting up an office here, a co-working office, which for the startups who wants to enter the China market, they can start to get a sense of what the Chinese company we're looking for. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, cross-border expansion is very difficult if you do not have a sense what the consumer or the customer on the ground needs. Your product may not be, suitable.
It becomes a very theoretical thing. I want to go to China.
Right.
And there's so much more, obviously, to that analysis, and having the partner that understands and can break that down for you in terms of governance, marketing, operations, etc., license.
And finding the right partner for you. I mean, basically, because in our Weplus platform, we are not only on a fund business, we also have the co-working platform is a big platform for small, medium, or large enterprise in China. So right now, we have about 600 startups or SMEs in our platform. So the chance of finding the right partner and that group of people is much higher. If you're in the gaming industry, mobile game, there will be, in my platform, it's probably 20 gaming companies. If you are in clean tech, we'll probably have another 20 that is in that business. So at least you can talk to those companies. It provides you with market information, market assets, that you know whether your product or your service is really tailored for that market.
Interesting. No, I completely agree. I think one of the things that is maybe not discussed as much is when it comes to venture capital and the business model changing with the market, I think one of the realities is it's more competitive. We're literally competing for deals in a different way. We're still upholding the notion that the investor chooses the startup to invest in, which in my opinion is completely wrong. The founders choose the capital. And with that, the VCs have hopefully appropriately changed the business model, and we're now pitching, we're selling what we can do.
So I think that's already happened in San Francisco. If you look at the top firm, Sequoia and Benchmark, deals really come to them because they want their capital. And I think there's so many venture capitalists right now in the Valley. There's 300 seed funds that just got funded. 2016, venture capitalists raised more money than since 2006. In Q1 alone, they raised $12 billion. And I think that's already the case. You have to fight for the deals. You have to show that you're going to be value added. You have to show that you have great relationships. But you have to show, most of all, that you're going to be there for them in the tough times. And in the good times. So I think that's probably going to come over to Europe sometime soon. As there's more successes, you'll see more venture capitalists, and those venture capitalists will have to fight among each other and show which ones are really the best and the most added value.
Well, in Russia, the situation is quite competitive, and vice versa. There are quite a lot of the venture funds and investors. Interestingly, in the last 3 years, most of the wealthy individuals who used to be in traditional industries, they set up through their family office their venture branches. Not substantial, $20, $30 million each, but this is a very interesting trend. And lots of investors are now coming to the market. And I think in Russia, now the startups are picking up which fund they want to see in the portfolio of the investors. And if you are a venture fund in Russia and you just sit and wait, if somebody comes, you just get the crap. So it's all about the value creation and how you can help to grow internationally. This is the buzzword in Russia today for the startups, really.
But I still feel that even though this is a reality, and I think most of us agree with it, and we're clearly in agreement that we are a commodity, and we need to compete to get in the deals. But the format isn't changing. We were just looking at startups pitching. They get a certain period of time. You sat in the judging panel. I've done the same. I feel that the format isn't in timely with what we're seeing. And I think it's a lot of the stakeholders have a role to play in changing the balance between the investee and the investor.
I mean, absolutely. I think there needs to be a change in how a lot of these deals have done. It has changed at the seed level. They used to do price rounds where there was a lot of negotiation back and forth. Then they did convertible notes, and then YC came out with safes, where basically you can do a handshake and invest in a company within 30 minutes, where it would take 2 weeks before. So some of the legal documents are changing to get deals done, but you're right, there should be some changes at the later stages as well.
So can we conclude to say new horizons, the landscape is changing, the founders are in the driving seat, and we see innovation globally?
Thank you so much.
Only the business is good. The founder is on the driver's seat only if that business is a good business.
Of course. That's a hygiene factor here. We're talking about building great businesses, applying technology to known problems, and having the crazy factor to drive that into a big business. It's been an honor. Thank you so much, guys. And I look forward to hearing who wins the startup competition afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.